In this video, I'm going to show you how you can go about writing an interesting bass line to complement your song and raise the overall level of your production. I'm David Duarte, aka Paper Trails. I'm an artist, music producer, and engineer, and I'm here to share the insight and knowledge I've acquired over 2 decades working in music. The master does not cling to any particular form. His mind is fluid and formless. He can adapt to anything that comes his way. That principle of adaptability is central to great bass playing. Always adapting and playing what's right for the song. The first thing I'm going to do when I'm working out a bass line for a song is to learn the chords and listen to the rhythmic patterns being played, as well as the vocal melodies. You might say, well, yeah, that sounds pretty obvious, and you would be correct. But what's not always obvious is what you as the bass player should play to support and enhance the rest of the song. So what I'm going to suggest is not to try playing the most technically skillful thing you could play, but instead listen for what the song wants you to play. Sometimes those two things converge, and that can be a really cool thing, but if you're playing like Les Claypool and the song is a soft indie claro type song, you won't be playing with those people for long. Let's start with the verse of the song. The chord progression is D, C sharp augmented, C sharp 7, F sharp minor, A major 7/E. And the guitar is capoed on the 2nd fret, so I'm going to do the same on the bass. With each of these chords, we want to know what notes they consist of. I'm not necessarily going to use all those notes, but I want to know what my options are. And it looks like the scale that would go with these chords would be an F sharp harmonic minor, but that A major 7/E would add a flat 7 in there as well. Now that we have the note palette, we want to focus on the rhythm. I want to be guided by the kick drum and the vocal the most. With the kick drum, I'm going to mostly follow the rhythmic pattern, and with the vocal, I want to support it melodically and rhythmically without playing over it and becoming a distraction. We're keeping in mind we are playing for the song and not for other bass players. To start the song, I really want to get the root notes established, and I'll branch off from there as the song progresses. What I like to do is loop the section I'm working on, press record, and try out several things. If you're in Studio One, you'll want to make sure you go down to the record panel and set it to record takes and takes to layers. All the major DAWs have their version of this. Looping the section helps me learn the little nuances of the song, which I can accentuate, and because I'm recording this as I go, I can listen back to each take and create a comp track from that. If that comp track is really good, I'll keep it, but if I think I can improve upon it, I'll practice it a few times, then loop record again to get a better performance. Let's listen to what made the final track.
A few steps from here, under the orange tree, I hear her laughing, so she is still by me. All I need is to see her one more time running.
You can hear immediately I'm using passing notes to connect the root notes of the chords, but the second time through the progression, I start to diverge from using the root notes on the A major 7/E chord by using an E instead of an A. Then the third time around, the guitar changes a bit by not going to the C sharp augmented, but instead sliding into the C sharp 7 from the E string and following with the F sharp minor, then an A add 9/E. And really these are just melodic variations of the same chords previously used. The vocal melody also changes a bit, and I want to follow both of these by sliding into the C sharp and hitting that octave when the guitar hits the high B. Now when we get to the F sharp minor, I'm already higher up the neck, adding some higher notes, so I'm gonna stay up there for the root note, and adding the 5th above it gives it some more movement. Then doing the same thing for the A add 9/E chord, but playing E and the B above it, which would be the 5th of an E chord, but in this context I still think of this as an A add 9/E, where I'm accentuating the 5th and the 2nd of that chord with the bass. Don't get too caught up in the chord names though. They're useful for explaining to other musicians what you're playing, but knowing what a chord is named is not going to turn you into Paul McCartney. I'm also using the open B as a passing note between these chord changes, remaining tight with the kick drum. Finally, the verse ends with only the first two measures of the chord progression, and I'm playing this kind of bouncy line with the D doing a hammer-on pull-off move. Also, on a lot of the snare hits, I'm using rests on the bass instead of playing a note on that beat. Remember, the space between the notes is just as important as the notes themselves. Then finishing off the verse with the C sharp, I use the root up to the fifth, then the third, which is a great leading tone to take us into the chorus. Those last two notes are doing the exact opposite of the guitar, which makes for a nice harmony. Moving on to the chorus, let's take a listen.
In my car for the last ride, but it's best that you go.
This chord progression is F sharp minor, F augmented sharp 9, D major 7, C sharp 7. I would do the same thing I did in the verse by looping the section and playing it over and over to get the feel for it. If you're in a band, you would do this kind of stuff with your bandmates. Focus in on certain sections of the song and play them over and over until it all either starts to come together in an interesting way, or you realize you've made a huge mistake and should have actually gone to law school like your parents had planned for you since before you were even a twinkle in your father's eye. On this F sharp minor, a 1 flat 3 5 flat 3 1 arpeggio worked perfect, just outlining the chord. And when I say numbers like 1, flat 3, 5, second, fifth, these are intervals, which are the distance between notes. So if it's an F sharp minor, the 1 is F sharp, and the rest of the intervals would be the notes in the F sharp minor scale. I like to slide in and out of notes and use hammer-ons and pull-offs quite often. So on this phrase, I started at the 1, then slid into the flat 3, hit the 5 and the flat 3 again, then back to the 1. This creates kind of a smooth transition between notes. On the F augmented sharp 9, what worked best was 1, 3, sharp 4, 3, 1. And on the 3, sharp 4, 3 part of it, I did a hammer-on and pull-off to tie those notes together. That sharp 4 seemed to go really well with the vocal melody, as it is the first note of the vocal melody over that chord. On the D major 7, I went with 1, 5, 1 octave and let the rest of the music carry the tonality. Same with the C sharp 7, only I added this little rhythmic muted note on the D string for the last 3 measures, also using the open B as a passing note. Then as we repeat the chord progression, I like to change the pattern a bit so it's not so repetitive and copy and paste. This time for the F sharp minor, 1, flat 3, 4, flat 3 worked. So changing the 5 to a 4 and doing a hammer-on pull-off for that flat 3, 4, flat 3 part. On the F augmented sharp 9, 1, sharp 4, sharp 5, sharp 4, 3, sliding from the sharp 4 to sharp 5 and back to the sharp 4 sounded really interesting. Reinforcing the augmented nature of the chord with that sharp 5. Again, enhancing the vocal melody and not distracting from it. I know the interval numbers and changes can be quite confusing and overwhelming if you're not as advanced with the chords and scales. So it's a good idea to pause and replay this part of the video so you can see what I'm doing and try to play along. Remember, these intervals will be part of the scale we're playing, starting with the root note of the guitar chord in this case. And for the last 5 measures, D major 7, C sharp 7, D major 7, I just repeat the same pattern as the first time around. We'll change that up a bit later in the song. We don't want to give away everything too soon. You want to leave some room for new patterns as the song progresses. Real quick, if you're learning from this, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you need more personalized help, there's a link in the description for one-on-one coaching sessions with me, where we can cover everything from music production and engineering to guitar, bass, ukulele, or keyboard. Or if you're interested in having me produce, mix, or master your project, my contact info is in the description as well. And the last thing I'll cover here are a couple of variations in the chorus towards the end of the song that add some more movement. I will have played some different variations in the second verse as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't want the song to be too repetitive. We're already repeating the chord progression several times, so we just want to make subtle variations to keep the song moving forward. The last 2 times through the chord progression, I'm going to do slight variations on the first D major 7. The first time, I'll basically outline the D major, descending and then ascending and adding in the 9th briefly. The second time I'll outline the chord ascending then descending, but I'll use both the 7th and the 9th. This will give 2 interesting variations that will make the last chorus more effective. I'll play the whole chorus here so you can hear how it works in context. The main takeaways here would be to listen to and play for the song. Play notes with intentionality and purpose, adapt your playing to fit the song, and don't overplay. In order to do that efficiently and effectively, it really helps to know your scales and chord tones, because you don't actually want to be thinking about most of the music theory stuff as you're playing and writing your parts. I know I don't. I'm listening for what the song wants me to play. And because I've done my homework and know what the note and chord palette is, I could play interesting parts that are appropriate for the song. And you can too. Hopefully that helps shed some light on ways you can write creative bass lines and make your songs and productions more interesting. I'd love to hear what your process for writing bass lines is, so leave a comment below. And if you're ready to improve your drum programming skills or vocal production skills, I've got videos for that right here. See you in the next video.